Okay, Kun. So maybe we wait for a minute and it get started. Let me just share my screen meanwhile. All right. So good evening and good morning for all of them across the time zones and all the agile enthusiasts across the world. So maybe may I request the others to go on mute so just to avoid any echo. Okay, thank you. So could someone confirm if my screen is visible and I'm audible and visible as well? Okay. Thank you so much. So, firstly, I've chosen a very informal topic. So, I'm sure you must have been hopping across the sessions of Access Agiles, where we're talking deep about a lot of technical aspects of agility. So, this is something informal, which I kind of thought I'll create a fusion topic and then have a conversation and more of an informal learning with all of you. Um, so, what I'm going to talk about is the power of self organizing. So all of us know as agile evangelists that self-organized team is like a basic cell or what do I say, a prerequisite for any agile team to be successful. So being an agile lover myself, and at professional, I'm a release trained engineer working for Bosch for more than 11 years across the automotive and the mobility sectors. And at home, I'm a parent of a toddler of around 3.5 years. And while I was in the stage of when I introduced this, solids to him, and when I was trying to get around this self-feeding techniques with my toddler, I found a lot of similarities between trying to establish a self organized team and trying to coach or help my son to get into the self feeding. So I just thought, why don't we have a fusion topic, drawing some parallels and some analogy on self organized team versus self feeding toddler. So, more or less, maybe I would try and keep my presentation for approximately 40 minutes, and then 15 to 20 minutes. I would love to hear your views, questions, and comments. Right? So, let's first talk about the feeding aspect. So, if you are a parent or you would have seen your neighbors or niece or nephew, I think the time when around the baby starts this solid, or when there is a shift from the milk to something solid or semi-solid to be put into the mouth, there's a lot of stress at home and there's a lot of things which buzz around the parents. So you get so much of advice from the internet, from peers, from neighbors, elders. So there's a lot of dilemma which goes on to, like, what is the right quantity of food for the baby? Am I as a parent making some mistake? How do I ensure that the baby is inclined to the food? What do I feed? Which feeding technique do I embrace? How do I even know that the baby is ready for the food? Then we have cool lot of stuffs which have come, the spoons, the bib, the high chair. What do I invest in, right? These are the kind of dilemmas which typically parents undergo when they come into the semi-solid stage. So there is always this, there are a lot of funny videos and animations which have come out. You give the baby food and something else, the baby tends to choose something else. Everything edible is found in non-food forms of objects, right? So this is a typical trend which is seen across. So how do we handle that, right? Um, it is recommended that right from the age of 6 months that we encourage the baby or the toddler to explore the food through her or his senses, touch it, feel it, let the baby figure out how to gum, how to chew, how to get the food from mouth onto the stomach. All the crucial skills for developing into a foodie starts right from the 6 months. And it's very surprising, but yes, the baby knows the capacity. right? There's a lot of hand-eye coordination involved, the grasping skills, it refines the sensory skills, and there's a lot of inclination towards food. And it makes the mealtime very interesting and stress-free in the long run if the baby is able to gain a lot of independence right from the age of like 6 months or 5 months or whenever we started. Now, I want you to kind of remember this emotion or try to recollect this as a coach or a agile master or any kind of an agile transformation role which you handle. This would be the similar kind of an emotion what you would undergo when you're about to start your team. Where to start with? What tools do I start with? I have lot of bunch of freshers in my team. Are they really capable enough to handle the tasks? I have high pressure customers. How am I going to handle? So these are the similar kind of emotions or dilemmas which we undergo. So let us just think that you stop worrying about it. Coming back to our feeding analogy, we just let the child start picking up the food and eat whatever they want. So what happens? Well, it's a mess, right? It's a lot of mess. But the only tip I could think of is the benefits are worth the mess. So typically, when me and my husband earlier, when we used to go to a lot of these parties or weddings together, they serve the food, or we need to sit in a table and have food. So it used to be one of us. One of us carry the baby, other one has it and then call it. It was never a family time. That's because we never inculcated the self-feeding then. It was always one of us trying around, showing the television or the mobile or trying to distract feeding. It's more if I have to relate to our in a professional world, lot of a command control mode, or kind of not being able to delegate it to the team, trying to kind of give a lot of instructions, not trusting the team. We tend to do that in the initial stages, especially during let's say the storming stage of the team. So yes, it takes a lot of time, right? I mean, we don't know. Some kids pick it up at 8 months, some of them 2 years, some of them even 4.5 years. So how do we have that kind of patience, right? This is typically what happens with our newly formed teams as well. Let us say you're trying to teach some estimation techniques to the team. Some teams pick that in 1 week. Some of the teams take like 2 months. Some of the team takes 8 or 10 sprints to make that happen. So how do we, kind of remain cool? So the important message is a self-organization or a self-feeding is something like a return on investment. You need to invest that amount of time, patience, tools, techniques, and coaching for you to break even and get the benefits in a very long run. If we start comparing the teams or if we start comparing the children and then lose our patience with it, then it's as good as not starting it itself. Then we have our own stakeholder management, right? Talk about the pressure which comes from firstly within us, the neighbors. When we see the children around happily eating, we're like, wow, why didn't my toddler do that? Where did I go wrong? Such kind of thoughts obviously start coming. Then we have our own advice from friends, societies, in-laws, and all of them, right? We'll talk about a little bit of stakeholder management, which is very, very, very important both in the personal as well as the professional life. So now coming back to our agile, right? What is firstly a self-organizing team? Leadership guru Peter Drucker, what does he say? He says knowledge workers have to manage themselves. Autonomy is like a cell when it comes to a team. This resonates with the idea. I think we all have read the Agile Manifesto, which clearly sees self-organizing teams choose how best to accomplish their work rather than being directed or commanded or instructed by anyone outside the team. The one who is into the task knows the best how to do it. But before we even go to self-organization, what is a team? In many cases, we tend to get confused with the real teams and the so-called acting groups. So typically, real teams have four features. They join together for one purpose. That true north or the magnetic purpose attracts all of them. There's clear boundaries in terms of information flow, alignment, decision making. There are clear boundaries and autonomies which exist. Most importantly, It's the authority to self-manage with this boundary. So an organization or a leadership or a management set the boundary. Once the boundary condition is laid, it is up to the team to decide and perform what and how to do. And they are a stable over some reasonable period of time. So the ability for a team to self-organize is around the goals. This, as we know, is pretty fundamentals. And once the self-organized teams are set, I think the best high-performance team, the super productive team, the highest business value delivery, best architectures, designs, all of them will emerge from the self-organizing team. Now, if you ask me, how do I differentiate a self-organized team from a non-self-organized? I think it's very obvious. The result would speak itself. When you see a team, you will know, are they able to sustain without the agile master, without the leaders? Can they really perform well and adhere to their customer goals without being, getting instructed? All these are some kind of traits. In the same time, it's important to understand not every agile team will self-organize the same way. Just like each baby takes different time to pick up their own solid food and start self-feeding, every agile team will take the time and they may or may not self-organize. It's okay. And becoming a self-organizing team does not happen as an overnight technique. It's continuously coached, continuously reorganizing, a lot of situational leadership, and it's not a one-time process. So I just want to draw a parallel of what we discussed, right? These might be some kind of questions which might come to you as a parent or as a coach or as a agile transformationist. Can a baby really self-feed? How can a 6 months baby just start picking the food and it's some kind of a fantasy? Can a team really self-organize? How is it possible that you don't have anyone to instruct and the teams just start organizing? How is it possible? How long should I wait? That's a golden question in wherever we go. My baby is too small. My team is too junior. They don't have enough domain knowledge. They've just learned what is agile. They've just learned the estimation techniques. They're too junior. I still feel there is a need to kind of instruct them and help them out. These are some kind of typical thoughts. So what is the magic recipe for it? Well, unfortunately, there is no ready reckoner. However, trust, patience, continuous monitoring and coaching, mentoring them, motivating them, a long tended commitment from all the stakeholders, continuity. These are some kind of, let's say, tips which could help on either side at home or at profession if you're trying to self organize and your role as a parent or a coach at profession is not to do too much. It's just to be there in the back, trust them, mentor them, and make it happen. Yeah, it's pretty easy said than done. But this pretty much falls into the Lencioni model, right? So Patrick Lencioni is one of the most of you would have heard about him. He's one of the best-selling author of Five Dysfunctions of a Team, and this license model and this book is very popular across industries, across organization, any kind of functional unit. This has been very popular. So typically, we have a tendency to focus on this top part of result. Why is the team slipping the delivery? Why are they not onto the committed business delivery? We typically tend to focus here. Why is my baby not feeding? Why is it such a stress? We always focus on the results. But there are a lot of base part of the pyramids which we need to focus on. So how this pyramid can be interpreted is the trust, if built, can lead to productive conflict. So when we say trust, it's very easy. I trust you. I trust my team. We typically hear this. But we are talking about that kind of trust where I can come and expose my vulnerability in front of the whole team. You will see in most of the retrospections or most of the ceremonies or any kind of team meetings you call for, there would be a lot of silence. There'll be that one person or kind of a typical leader or that architect who's trying to talk. The others would all be numb. Yeah, this is a typical scenario. This happens because there are no productive conflicts. So conflicts are very good. We try to kind of build that culture to say no, no arguments, but it's not possible when a team who's literally working with each other for almost 8 to 9 hours a day have no conflicts. Then it is not a team. It could be due to lack of trust. What if my team member judges me? If I say that I am not with you, I do not agree to this design, what if that person mistakes me, right? So, that kind of a productive conflict, if the leader and the organization is able to build this environment, it gives rise to commitment. Why does productive conflict give rise to commitment? Because you've heard my views, you might not have accepted it. And I think Agile is a beautiful way which has inbuilt, for example, our story point estimates, right? Right from a fresher to the most experienced person in the team, everyone has the rights to show the number of the, we ask their views. So even if my view is not taken as a binary, the advantage is because you have heard my view, I would give that kind of commitment. And when commitment is there, it automatically builds the accountability, which leads to the results. So maybe we can, take this and look at back and say, where do we really stand as a team? And when we did this in our organization, even for teams which were like 10 years together, we kind of lagged here. So stakeholder management, yeah, we spoke about it, right? So we have lot of powerful stakeholders. Some have a direct say, some have a lesser say. So we can have a look into the stakeholder matrix, either at home or at work. So on the x-axis, we have the interest. How interested is this particular stakeholder on what I do? And how powerful are they, right? So if the interest and the power are really, really high, then they are key players. Engage them, talk to them regularly, manage them actively. If the power is little low but their interest is still high, consider them, keep them informed. If the power is high and the interest is low, understand them and satisfy their need. They are known as latents. If the power and the interest is pretty low, then we monitor them, don't spend too much of energy, we inform them occasionally. So this stakeholder matrix can kind of put down and ease down a lot of energy we spend with the exchange of information with different kind of people. So, what is the role of a parent, coming back to the self-feeding topic? Right aiding tools, right? How do we help them? Can we give them a good grip fork, the high chair of the right, height for the baby, then bibs, whatnot. So as an agile master or a transformation or a coach, as a leader, the tools and the techniques what we think of typically when we start the project, if we are in sprint zero or if we are in the beginning of the transformation, the right kind of tools and techniques can really lead to a long-term investment. Then company feeding. So this is typically there. It took me some time to figure out that when my son is in the company of us, when we used to sit in the dining table together, the same food, the same texture, it used to go in a pretty, easily, and that used to happen. So family meals. Then right texture. Is it too slippery? Is it really going to choke onto the throat? And most importantly, the patience. So this is a role of a parent in self-feeding. I'm going to correlate it to what is a role of an agile transformation or a change agent, right? So self-organizing team being the heart of the agile methodology, it has never been an easy task. But the good news is any agile framework we take, talk about Scrum or Kanban or SAFe, all of them are already built on self-organizing framework. You will never find a recommendation to an agile methodology which says command and control or we need someone to monitor. It's never that way. All the roles are inbuilt that way. The ceremonies are inbuilt that way. The framework, the kind of process, metrics, anything you see is already built on a self-organizing team. So if you invest as a leader or as a team member on a self-organizing team, I think half of the problem in Agile is solved. So in self-organizing team, nobody tells the team what or how to do, including the product owner himself or herself. So then, typically I've got this question. So if the baby is able to eat everything on their own, what do we do as a parent? So if the team can completely manage themselves, why am I needed? Do I really have a role as a coach or a scrum master? What do I do? Should I just sit and then be an audience? No, that's not it is. Self-organizing teams does not mean that they do not need help or coaching, right? So this shows a small matrix on how we see the responsibility. So on the x-axis you have manager-led teams, self-managing teams, self-designing teams, and self-governing teams. So in a manager-led teams, I think it's executing right from executing the task of the team he or she is involved. In a self-managing team, the team can take care of execution and monitoring, managing their work, everything. In a self-designing team, design decision, organization context, that is also done by the team. Self-governing teams is setting the overall directions. They even know where they are headed to. Now the question is, how do we enable? So yes, we understood the importance of a self-organizing team, right? How do we make it happen? Well, again, it's a little complex because what I'm going to talk about here is a little bit of human system dynamics. We are going to enter the world of little bit of system thinking. Why? Because we are talking about people. People are complex. Human mind is complex. So a straightforward thinking is not going to help us to build a self-organizing team. So this is called as a CDE model. So a CDE model explains the kind of influence you can have in any system which you bring about. It helps us to understand the deep patterns or the complex subsystem. So typically, let's say I get a cold or a cough. Instead of just saying, hey, I got a cold and I'm just going to swallow a tablet, it is important to understand the pattern. When am I getting this cold? Is it during a particular season? What is the root cause? Is there an allergy to something I have developed? It's important to treat based on the root cause, right? So is it for human behavior as well? So what is a CDE model? It helps you identify a pattern. It helps you to think of the pattern and then choose your options based on it. And you can control the CDE environment and observe the kind of results or the patterns which emerge out. So in CDE, C stands for a container. So just like a normal container, you take a vessel and you pour water, it takes the shape of it, right? In organization context, what kind of leadership style is it? What kind of value system the organization is contained? Or in the parenting example, am I a mother who's too scared to try things? That can also become a container. A container is anything which fits in a shape or tries to bind the people onto the boundary of what I think. That is a container. What is a D? D stands for difference. So difference is typically the kind of tension, some kind of constraints. So container can be as simple as an agenda of the meeting. I have a problem that every time I'm out of time in my meeting, I set a meeting for 1 hour, it always goes above, 1 hour. So does that kind of environment exist? Which means your differences could be that you need to increase the time or you need to time box it better. So differences are nothing but what holds the tension. So let's say you're in a party and you have hundreds of people. It is a chaos. It is a mess. You have people talking, people jumping, some are, in their conversation, some are silent. Now just imagine there is a piano player who comes in and tries to play a favorite tune. So from a mess, you get emergent patterns. Some people start singing, some people start dancing, some people start listening. So what happened? Lot of patterns have emerged out of this complex system. So that is what differences mean. Exchange is nothing but your conversation, your feedback, what you talk to your stakeholders, the kind of energy exchange what happens within your teams. It could be anything. So Exchange will only help you to kind of control. If C and D are not controlled, we'll not be able to control exchanges. So what we as leaders or organization or team member can do is we have to study the pattern. When team is not able to self-organize, we can this inside the bubble is not much in our control. These are patterns which emerge. But what can we control? The outside part of it so that this emerge. Set a strong purpose or a mission. It's like a magnet. Your vision, your values, your purpose should be so strong that automatically the teams are self-organized. Even if there is an argument, they say, hey, you know what? I'm working for a mobility system. I am here to prevent accidents on the road. I cannot afford to fall apart for a minor petty issue of that sort. So set a strong vision. Provide the world-class best infrastructure for your team. Give them all the training or the information what is needed. Keep the rewards and the recognition system so strong. Just to give you an example from my recent experience as a release train engineer, for one of the teams, I noticed that during the system demo, the teams were taking turns to provide the demo. It was never one person. So in our system demo in front of 100 people, I just appreciated the team saying, hey, wow, I see new faces which are showing the demo. Cool, looks like the team knows the product really well. What was from the next system demo, all my other 7 agile teams were also trying that. So when you appreciate the team for being self-organized, it has a kind of peer positive network impact towards it. So it's also important to educate your team. So they need to understand the kind of autonomy we have given. They need to understand appreciate the independence what is given to the team. So right amount of education is also important. Yeah, so this is about the CDE model and how human system dynamics plays a very important role in self-organizing a team. So why should I bother self-organizing? Who doesn't want a great velocity, better business results? There's a lot of increased quality and customer focus. We all want to be truly agile, right? The magic recipe is self-organizing team, lesser team management, and highly motivated team. These are few of the advantages what we can see from the self-organizing teams. I would like to visually convey something. Our true north is from here to here. Wow, look at the stressful faces here, both, and look at the happy, peaceful faces here. We want to reach from here to here when we say we are agile. So the challenge is all of this is not a technical or a tools related topic. It is a mindset. So we need to shift our mind from IQ to VQ. So the world is not anymore about intelligence quotient. How can we survive together? How can we come together and work? That becomes the need of the hour. We need to move from assign to empower, authority to partnership, diffidence to trust, competition to co-optation, fear zone to growth zone, controlled to self-organize. Actually, the nature, if we look around, is a lot self-organized. Now, an interesting fact about this picture is an ant colony, the longest ant colony which was found is 306 million worker ants for 2.7 kilometers square. This is the largest ant colony which was seen. There is no traffic there. There's no accident. No one gives instructions to the ants. They are just headed to their purpose, and this is what they do. So not only this, the flock of birds which fly, all of them have an inbuilt element of self-organizing within the nature. If we can learn from them and try to observe the patterns and imbibe this in the team, I think it will be a great start. Lastly, it's I think this picture speaks it all. Together we win. So that's about the presentation from my side. I would love to hear your comments, your experience, your thoughts on this topic, on how you might have implemented this at home or at work. Yeah. Sure, sure. We, WE stands for we. It's the power of collective intelligence. So when we say IQ, it is intelligent quotient of one person. So what I think. So as a leader, I will have a thought on how I want to lead my team. Shift that, ask the team, what do you want? So it becomes a collective intelligence that is called as VQ, V quotient. Thank you. I would love to hear thoughts and your experience as well, the kind of diversified situations you all might have handled. How was your experience with self organizing? Sure. I think when the team is undergoing the Tuckman stages of formation, when it is a relatively new team, it is easier to set that culture. So my experience has been we lead by example. So when I started my project, we were two of us, myself and a senior architect. So what we used to do is we used to intentionally kind of argue in front of the team when we started. Just we knew we used to, this is something which we tried because it was silence in the retrospection, only I and he used to talk slowly. So the one technique we tried was I said, see, I'm going to disagree to your views. Then we kind of led by example. And then the team learned, oh, it's okay. So I can disagree. Look at her. She's disagreeing to someone senior. So looks like it's a culture. So when we set this culture that we can be vulnerable. So I used to ask for help. Hey guys, you know what? I have no idea about this topic. Can you guys help me? So, such kind of small things which we communicate with the teams in the beginning, they are continuously looking at it and learning from it. So they get to know as a culture. So it's not a one time. So as and when a new team member comes, again we storm, again we go to that stage. So it becomes a little continuous where we have to be cautious when we go and communicate with the team. But such small activities, when we lead by example, when slowly it's kind of a company feeding. When everyone starts doing it, even a fresher who joins the team today, they understand, oh wow, looks like cool, I can do that. So how fast is it? I'm not sure how fast it is. I don't have an answer there, but I think when we are if you're talking about a new team, I would at least give it a 5 to 8 sprints to even settle down. The first 5 sprints I wouldn't even ask or look at them or measure the metrics or keep the management out of it to really get into the groove of it. Thank you. Right. Thanks for adding in, Satish. Yeah, I understand it must be tough, especially when you are not empowered from your top. How do you empower the team is pretty much a challenge. I completely agree. But I think we'll have to keep coaching from right, from left, from top, from bottom. As Scrum Master, when it's so tough, I mean, I always tell this joke to my Scrum Masters. You just assume as if you have your resignation letter in the pocket, right? You have nothing to fear. You have your resignation letter. Doesn't mean you're going to quit and go, of course. The idea is you bravely make that change what you want to do. So if I were in your position, maybe I will study some success story of some organization on what results could be achieved in a self-organized team and where are we. And I would pick up an example from the same organization which kind of probes, oh, if they can do, I can do it as well. So if we are able to show the gaps, some kind of data, some kind of stats on how a super productive team who are self-organized is much beneficial in the long term, and try to bring in some kind of intangible benefits like attrition, the kind of what they could, contribute to the organization. We will have to take those examples and we'll have to talk to them. So there's no magic formula, but keep coaching. And I'm talking about this, if you see in this slide, the education, the information, this we will have to keep setting so that they understand about it. And once they taste that success, once your managers learn the kind of results they can achieve with a self-organizing team, then they wouldn't go back. I have experienced this, people who asked why agile or why safe. Today they are going and propagating it around the world. They are like, hey, you know what? Try this. So once they taste the success, it's going to be an easy path. Yeah. Thanks, Afzal. Yes, Alistair, your hands are up. Please share your views. Sure, go on. Um, this one second. So you are asking me which of the self-managing, self-designing, or self-governing, which of this is the best? Is it? I think this one, true north, where they can do everything on their own, like not only execute but monitor, design, set their overall direction, and march towards it. I think that's the closest. But probably we cannot jump from here to there. So I see these as stepping stones to truly reach the self-organizing. Role of a leadership. This is a good question. Actually, when in my view, the best leader, or if you ask me, who is the most successful leader, if they have created a team which can run without them, if they have created 10 leaders like them, then they are the best leaders. So in that definition they meet. So we don't want managers, we want leaders. So there are so many things to do in the organization. So there are 7 levels of delegation, right? Starting from giving instructions to 100% delegating everything. Both the extremes may or may not suit. So we figure out situation based, like which is suitable for the organization, and embrace that style of leadership. So maybe role of a manager, maybe sorry, that's my son crying. Sorry if there is a noise. So maybe we don't need managers, but we need leaders. Only leaders can empower a team. They can create leaders like them. So I never feel role of a leader will perish or go away. We'll always have something for them to motivate, empower, and keep bringing the best in people. And I also feel we have to set some cool metrics. Typically, when I was a project manager, if I show some lot of colorful Excels and pie charts, they were like, wow. I mean, we should stop that mindset. Instead, imagine your leadership above are asking you, you show me how self-organized the team is. If you're able to show me how self-led they are, then you get a better, that's how we measure you. If that kind of things are coming from the top level, if the organization environment is very healthy towards self-organizing, I think things can change as well. No problem. Nice question. Nice question. If you have managed to free your capacity by 50%, that means you have done a wonderful job by empowering a team. So you have empowered one team. There are hundreds of teams in the organization. Go pick up something else and empower them as well. So it's like if you have to grow, you need to take the people below you with you as well to grow up, right? So yeah, if you have managed to empower and motivate one team, so typically when do we give a scrum master two teams? If that one team is self-organized and they can kind of do without the scrum master, we encourage the scrum master to take up one more team. Same holds good with the manager or the engineering manager, director, whatever level you are. If you have managed to do that with one team, then go and change the other part of the world as well. Yeah, and next time you can give them this analogy. Just because your kid knows to eat on your own doesn't mean it doesn't need a parent or a friend or a company. It's just one of the autonomy which they have achieved to do on their own. I don't think leadership roles can never become obsolete. You need to continuously go around and bring out the best in others. So that can never, as long as there are people in the organization, I think this can never perish. So assure your leaders that they have a lot of work to do. Oh, great. Yes, it worked for me. So you try and kind of make some informal, you might want to focus on this part of the bottom of the pyramid and start from here, and automatically they would bring it's a little tough with the new teams because they are still getting to know each other, the environment, the work, what they do. And especially if it's a distributed team and there's a lot of cultural barriers we need to cross. So it can get challenging. Wow. Yeah, maybe you would want to kind of set a concrete what talk about each of your culture, what is okay. And sometimes I've found it might seem very simple, the working agreement concept in Agile, right? It can really do wonders for self-organizing team. So like it's an unstated rule. You just put it in a piece of paper that right from the working time we have cultural differences, what to do and what not to do. And if we set that boundary and the working agreement between the teams, I think even overseas that way it could do. But yeah, it would be, I wouldn't deny that it's going to be so easy, but to set the trust and bring in a productive conflict across cultural boundaries and geographies, it's going to be challenging. But I think then more relentless work, more work for you as a coach or a agile master or whatever role you have taken up. I think you'll have to be more relentlessly improving it. There's no other way out, I see. Thank you. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. And just to add on about this team building, typically what we try to keep the team building is we ask about each other, the hobbies, what do you do, all that is there. But real team bonding starts where, once we were taken to a resort and we literally had to jump back and rely on the people who would kind of support us. That is when trust builds. I mean, I need that safety net, right? How do I trust him? So try to keep some element of uncertainties, kind of things that could go wrong. Such kind of things, if it is kept in the team building, it will be really nice. If people can talk about something dark which happened in their life, slowly, if we can bring that out and if we can really bond people over there, then the team would. I mean, team is a team when they can be with each other during a rough time as well. So yeah, team bondings and team activities should go a little more deeper on the emotional aspect of. Yeah. Okay, it's 6:26. I have 4 more minutes. I just want to mention this. Actually, 50 or 55 had accepted this meeting. Around 10 to 11 joined, but I really enjoyed the conversation because even though it was a few of us, I loved the questions which were coming up, the kind of conversations, the deep discussions what we had in all of these aspects. So thanks to Agile Access for this opportunity, and thanks to each and every one of you who have attended this session. So yeah, thank you so much. Sure. Yes, I can upload it right here in the chat. Yeah, I can do that. I'll find out the location from the organizers and do it. Sure. Yes, I have recorded it as well. I can do that.